everyone, to the May recording for the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. This is Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London.
And this is Sean in Texas.
Sean, hello.
Hello, how are you all?
We're very excited and very honoured to have you with us.
Oh, it's my pleasure, of course.
How did you find us?
Well, I think Twitter. Well, no, actually, somebody told me about you. I have a friend that DM'd me on Facebook, and he said, somebody's taking up the reins. There's a new Doctor Who Book Club podcast. And I think he expected me to be like mad or jealous or something. I said, well, that's interesting. Well, I don't mind that. That's excellent, actually, because I think that this, at the risk of sounding dirty, this fills a very important niche in Doctor Who fandom. There are no other podcasts that I know of that talk about the books in Doctor Who fandom. And more importantly, you guys also talk about, mostly at this point, the new series, not just the new adventures and the missing adventures and the past Doctor adventures or whatever they're called. I forget now. This is the one that we read right now is the first Doctor Who book I've read since I did our last episode, which I think was the Invasion of the Cat People. So no, there was one after that I read, and then we didn't do the recording, but yeah.
Well, we might. I think that might have been St. Anthony's Fire, which we have planned for later this year, hopefully. So
okay,
maybe we'll have you back on if you want.
If I don't feel all bruised and bloodied from this experience, no, it's okay. No, I'm just kidding. Wait, no, is St. Anthony? Oh yes, St. Anthony's Fire. Yes, it was it. That was it. I don't remember very much about it. I don't know why. I don't read these books drunk or anything, but Yes, I remember a few things about it. Okay.
Cool. So before we get into the book, we'll take a couple minutes and just talk about anything new or exciting that happened in the last month, Doctor Who related, or it could also be show and tell if you have got something cool to talk about from like a merch perspective or tat, as they say. Chris, why don't you go first this month?
Okay. So I saw Stephen Moffat. He was being inaugurated into the Radio Times Hall of Fame. So just before the new season started, he was in London South Bank and was just giving a Q&A hosted by Frank Skinner, which is rather lovely. And of course, he didn't give any spoilers or anything about the season. He did talk, though, about how much faith the BBC has in the programme, which is always good to hear, and got very angry on John Nathan Turner's behalf, which is probably also, I think, probably fair. But yeah, it was lovely and a great honour to see the man. He's a very good speaker. I would try to paraphrase, but I wouldn't be able to do justice. But yes, if ever you have the opportunity to hear him speak, he is very strong, very articulate opinions.
I had met him I think he's only been to one Gallifrey, and I want to say it was back in 2006, so even before the first series had come out, but his Girl in the Fireplace, that hadn't come out yet, so that was, I think, his one and only appearance, and it was pretty brief, but even back then I think people were kind of speculating that he might be the heir apparent if Russell ever left, but that's really, really cool.
And in honor of the Joy Division reference from the pilot, I am wearing my Joy Division TARDIS t-shirt.
Very nice.
Sean, how about you? Anything exciting?
Yes, I have a plan tonight, and that plan is to watch the Tom Baker years on VHS. Ooh. I'm so sorry that my thing isn't about the new series or anything to do with the new series, but it's these special little nuggets of fandom that I just get excited about. I haven't seen the Tom Baker years in ages, and I get to watch it tonight. So, do you all know what that is, the Tom Baker years?
Oh yeah, I've got a copy of it.
It's the only reason I still have VHS player. Really.
I'm really surprised that they didn't kind of slice that up and put a little segment on every single Tom Baker DVD release, like as an extra. That would have been an easy thing to do, I think.
To see him just say, "Oh, look at that! Oh, I was with her in Macbeth in 1971," and just all these. And sometimes they completely waste like 3 minutes of time by showing him a clip, and he just says, "I don't remember anything about that." And he just goes on to the next one. It's absolutely delightful to watch. I love him. I love it.
Yeah, those would have been great Easter eggs if they were on the those, especially the clips where he didn't remember anything.
Yeah.
I've got a couple quick things. One, I'm getting ready for a Doctor Who convention in Minneapolis. It's May 12th through 14th. Peter Davison was going to be there, but he canceled due to work commitments. But we're still getting Janet Fielding and Gary Russell and Chris Jones and Arnold Bloomberg and some other people. And then the other thing I picked up, it's like a TARDIS paperweight. It's made out of, it's from a company called Crystal Carvings. And it reminds me of an exhibit by the UK artist Mark Wallinger, where he created it's like a full-size mirror TARDIS. So I'll hold it up, but for the benefits of the listeners, it's like a clear, so it almost looks like it's materializing. And then it comes with this base that lights up that can't really see it, but it turns it blue, which is cool.
Yeah, that's lovely.
It looks like an award.
The first ever Doctor Who podcast award. Yeah. So our book for this month is The Silent Stars Go By Dan Abnett. And before we get into the plot summary, just a couple of words about the previous stuff that Dan's contributed to the world of Doctor Who. He's written 3 BBC audios, one read by Catherine Tate, one by David Tennant, and he also wrote a Torchwood audio called Everybody Says Hello, which is very creepy, and it's kind of like Children of Earth mixed with Smile from the new series. He also wrote a number of Doctor Who comics, a Torchwood novel, and the linking material for The Story of Martha, which has 4 short stories in it by other authors. I'm not super familiar with his Doctor Who comic work. I've read the Mark of Mandragora. Chris, have you read any of his?
Yeah, I was reading them as they were coming out at the time, and the Mark of Mandragora was probably the high watermark. I distinctly remember one that I think was called The Gift, that was basically aliens, which was all right. But further in the world of comics, so he also, I'm not going to say he co-created Guardians of the Galaxy, because that would be wrong. He helped craft the version of Guardians of the Galaxy that's kind of gone into cinemas.
Oh.
So with his sometime writing partner, Andy Lanning. Yeah, so this is a busy month for him.
I just rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy in 3D this week as one of my ones. That's really cool. So the book has 18 chapters and a prologue, and the 50th anniversary version has a newly added author introduction, and he wrote in there that Pertwee was his favorite doctor, or his doctor, and that he also has fond memories of the 7th Doctor and Ace, having written for them in the comics in the late 80s too.
I was going to say, he also uses the phrase Proustian TARDIS, which is interesting.
This book too is the second of the hardcover deluxe books that came out, and is also set at Christmas time. So just like last month, we have another Christmas special. I should mention that the title is from O Little Town of Bethlehem, and all of the chapter titles in the book are lyrics from different Christmas carols.
And that is the only Christmassy thing about it, other than it's winter, and they talk about Christmas in the beginning, which I guess is okay, but it's clever.
Oh, that's true. It isn't very Christmassy apart from like the winter setting, and from the Dr. Amy and Rory's timeline. This takes place after Amy and Rory are married, presumably after their honeymoon in A Christmas Carol, but before the events of An Impossible Astronaut. They mentioned Ledworth quite a bit, and not the flat in London that the Doctor gave them. So I think that's when it's set. All right, so shall we get started with the plot summary?
Let us, yes.
So who wants to begin?
I will, I guess. Okay. I'm not the best at this. I didn't take notes on the plot, but it opens up with, we meet a character named Vesta, and she's a girl that lives in this little village called B-Side, and the names of the villages in this are very important, although B-Side is the only one that we actually get to talk about or meet, so to speak. And Vesta is going out to visit the grave of her father, because it's maybe the 2nd or 3rd anniversary of his death. And this is a small village that's sort of, what's the word I would use? Maybe a bit medieval, One gets the feeling that it is a little bit in older times, although it's not set on Earth, obviously, because it's not an actual place. And she goes to visit the grave of her father, and the opening chapter of the prologue ends with her seeing, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's a pair of glaring red eyes in the woods, and something jumps out at her or comes after her. And then it instantly cuts to Amy, Rory, and the Doctor in the next chapter, I believe. And they're talking about visiting Earth at Christmas time in Earth's past. And I get the impression that perhaps they wanted to see some sort of Dickensian Christmas, which, of course, if I were in a time machine, that would be the type of Christmas that I would want to see, a Dickensian Christmas. And so that's the plan. But, either that or like Christmas from 1979 when I was a kid. I don't know. But I'm dating myself. Well, no, I'm telling everybody, yeah.
The setting reminded me a little bit of the village of Christmas on Trenzalore. But this very much, I mean, I think this was written in 2011, so yes. Presumably way before Time of the Doctor and all of that. Yeah. But that's kind of the imagery it kind of evoked, or even like the village in A Christmas Carol too, where you kind of have that kind of steampunk layer on top of everything.
And we're also seeing quite a bit of interesting naming of things, because you've got the graveyard area is called Would-Be. There's also references to kind of Guide's Bell, which is it took me a few pages to realise that this is kind of like a sort of a corruption of God as a term. On the naming side, we're kind of striking a fine balance of kind of not quite falling into twee, or at least to my taste. But I think it's does a good job.
The names were kind of like the Seva team in The Face of Evil, kind of that corruption of language over time,
or State of Decay. That's exactly what I thought. To the point that kind of bothered me a little bit. Like, hey, they're stealing that idea of, and the Doctor has a name for it, and I can't remember which story he says it, if it's State of Decay or The Face of Evil. I want to say Continental Drift, but that's something completely different.
Or Consonance Drift, maybe, or
maybe that's it. Maybe that's it.
Huh.
So the TARDIS crew are wanting to experience Christmas. And so Rory has been trying to pin the Doctor down to a commitment that they've actually arrived in Ledworth, and the TARDIS is that they've landed it on a bit of an angle, kind of lean-ish, as it's phrased, which means that the dimensional stabilizers that were a very important plot point 2 books ago don't seem to be working consistency. But it's very wintry countryside, and it's far too quiet to be Ledworth.
I was gonna say, if you're looking for consistency or continuity in the books, that way lies madness. Yeah. You are not going to find that. And then if you try to merge in Big Finish and the television show, no, it's not going to happen.
The Doctor and Amy and Rory leave the TARDIS to explore. Rory decides after they've been walking for a little bit that he's going to go back to the TARDIS and get a coat, effectively splitting him off from Amy and the Doctor for the rest of the book. Yeah, they had to split up.
Rather want to be Amy actually kind of points this out as to the fact that this is a very stupid idea. Okay. At least we're hanging a lamppost on it. Amy and the Doctor start heading back to the TARDIS because Amy's now getting a bit concerned, and they run into menacing men with farm implements. And the 11th Doctor tries to greet them with "ho ho ho," which is that's such a Matt Smith thing.
Mm-hmm.
I could easily picture that.
And so the group that meets them, they're known as the Morphins, is kind of what they call themselves, and they capture the Doctor and Amy and bring them back to really their city hall or their council chamber. Yeah. And the Doctor tries to basically use the psychic paper and say that he's from the next town over, and he's visiting their winter festival.
This doesn't go terribly well, because one of the villagers happens to be illiterate and is stunned to realise he can read. And so the villagers now think that the heroes are sorcerers. in amongst the villagers as well, we encounter a young woman called Belle, who's the sister of Vesta, and she's very forthright and very much kind of like a Moffat young female character, or at least to my senses, and came clear to me that we were going to be spending quite a lot of time with her.
There's also a couple characters. The head of B-side, if you will, or the leader of B-side is a gentleman named Bill Groan. It's a terrible name. I don't know why they picked that name, because everybody has perfectly nice names, but his name is Bill Groan, and I thought that would be like sort of a play on words of something like the Guide, or like or some of the other names that they name things here, like B-side and the Firmers and the Morphers. And then there's a lady named, I think it's Winnower,
Winona, yes.
Yeah, Winona. And she is very, for lack of a better word, religious. These are not religious people as we know religious people, but they go by something that they call the Guide, or they use a vernacular like, guide be with us. They're using the word guide as in TV guide in place of the word God. Okay. So one realizes very quickly that, okay, all right, they're not talking about a God. They're talking about something completely different, and we don't know what it is until much later. But she is very, very strict in following the word of guide.
I was going to say, I think their names, their last names, might even be intentional and like a further corruption of the language, because Vesta and her sister, you've got Harvesta, and I think they're farmers. Plowright is a metal worker. And I think Grown kind of being a politician. I'm wondering if some of those might be intentional, kind of like how, like, last or surnames today, you have like Johnson, like son of John, that sort of thing.
And there's also Samuel Crook. Okay. He is a younger man who I think is he on the council, or does he just know Belle and Vesta?
Yeah, you think he's like a potential suitor for one of the sisters, yeah.
He's obsessed with hats in his first appearance, is Samewell, and the fact that the people in the seaside sort of wear hats, and this is some piece of knowledge that he kind of trots out quite a bit. Without wishing to skip too far ahead, I must say I found Samewell annoying, but hey ho. Anyways.
Yeah, no, it's okay. He really didn't need to be in this book at all. He does absolutely nothing other than to be someone that they can talk to. Yeah. I didn't understand why he was in there at all. Yes, I didn't understand his name. I kept thinking of Samwise, so in my head I was picturing, what's his name from Lord of the Rings?
Yeah.
Sean Astin. That's how I pictured him, and I couldn't help it.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, he reminded me of the character, I think it's Petra from the Hunger Games series.
Oh, yes.
Played by the guy who kind of looks like a Lego minifig.
But at least he brings something to that narrative, whereas Samewell, there's quite a few scenes where and also Samewell's here. He helps the word count. Other than that,
yeah.
The Doctor and Amy get locked up in the basement of the city hall, and Belle, Vesta's sister, sneaks down there to basically speak with them further to try and find out if they know what had happened to her sister. He doesn't want to wait for the council to argue about it upstairs, and the Doctor uses his sonic screwdriver to unlock the cage, and the three of them sneak out.
One little thing is the psychic paper for Belle produces a picture of her sister, which is quite interesting, because I don't remember the psychic paper doing kind of sort of like emotion-driven imagery before, because so the Doctor says that if someone's under kind of great stress or great emotion, then it can sometimes kind of almost not quite work 100%. So that was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Almost like the emotions of her sister like overrode what the Doctor had kind of imprinted on the paper, and it turned into a picture of her sister.
Yeah.
That kind of brings us to the dramatic reading for the month. We'll be playing a short excerpt from the BBC audiobook utilized under fair use for review purposes, where we pick up...
I was going to say, so legal. Every time you say that.
Well, yeah,
Wow.
say it.
For CYA purposes,
Yeah.
we just want to say that.
Please, BBC, don't sue us. I can leave it out.
Yeah, we can leave it out.
We can leave it out. We're going to pick up on a conversation between the Doctor and Belle that they're having about the recent events in the village. All right, let's have a listen.
It's not just that the winters are cold, it's what the cold winters mean. They mean it could all be failing, said the Doctor. There's more to it, though, isn't there? Asked the Doctor. There have been signs. The livestock dead, and some say they have seen people in the woods around the plant nation. The shadows of tall men watching us. No one has seen them clearly, but they are big, and they cannot be men because all men from beside are accounted for. She looked at the Doctor. Until today, she said. Yes, but I came and said hello, so it can't have been me, said the Doctor. Belle sat down at the table and rested her nose against her clasped hands, as though she was praying. I told Vestra not to go about alone, she said quietly. I told her. She said there were no giants in the woods, and she could scare off any rogue dog. But I had seen the stars, and she had not. The stars? It was the other sign. Stars that go by at night, overhead. They make no sound. I've seen them, and a few others have. Old Winona says that the stars are an omen, the worst of all signs. They warn us that the world is in turmoil, and that despite all our patience, the Morphin effort is in danger. You said something just now, said Amy quietly. The Doctor and Belle looked at her. You said you were only letting us out to help your sister, because you didn't want her to die too. Who else has died? Our mother died years ago, Belle replied. Then we lost our dad 4 years ago to a fever. I won't lose another flourish. I swear to Guide, She stopped abruptly. Oh, Guide, help me, she cried, looking at the Doctor and Amy in dismay. I think I know where she went. I think I know. Where? Asked Amy. I had forgotten the day, said Belle, scraping back a chair and getting up. Vestra remembers these things. I don't. It's the anniversary of our father's death. She would have gone out early to lay flowers on his grave. She would have gone up to the memory yard before the start of labour. Then that, said the Doctor, is where we should look first.
As part of that conversation, Belle tells the Doctor that there are colonists on the planet, and that they're from Earth, and that the winters over the last few years have gotten worse. So previously it hadn't snowed, but for the last 3 or 4 years they've been getting increasingly more and more snow, and they're worried about like the planet turning into like a never-ending winter or a new ice age. And along with that, there have been attacks from creatures, or there have been attacks against the local livestock. So you've seen like animal mutilations and stuff that are being discovered throughout the village too.
And so that's why the B-side men are kind of wandering around using kind of farming equipment as weapons, so they're all basically getting a little bit freaked out. And there's also reports of silent stars moving overhead, which first of all I kind of thought, well, stars are silent. But so yeah, okay. And then I kind of, oh, you must mean it. Yeah, it's the moving bit that's the remarkable thing. But anyway, so.
It's for the title of the book.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. I mean, it's not the most blatant shoehorning of the title of a book that we've read.
So as the three of them are leaving, that's where Samuel shows up and starts following them.
Like a bad smell. Yes.
What's that? Oh, that's just Samuel.
Yes.
So he eventually meets up with them, and they discover a sheep carcass. So they find like evidence of the all the bad stuff happening.
Mm-hmm.
Now this part fascinated me because I knew that there were going to be ice warriors because they're, I don't know if you noticed, but they're on the cover of the book. it's kind of like, they have whatever of the Daleks, and then the end of the first episode is a reveal of a Dalek, and oh my God, what a surprise when you've got an episode called Birthday Party of the Daleks. So the reveal that there were ice warriors, or ice men, as Amy calls them. Oh my God, that there were ice warriors. It's not a surprise, but it confused me because I'm like, well, they wouldn't attack a sheep and kill a sheep and eviscerate the sheep the way that these animals were, with like bones and bits left over and just blood and skeletons. So that piqued my interest. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, I'm getting into editorializing about the book. You kind of forget about that until later on in the story.
Put a pin in it, because we will get back to that.
Yeah. So one thing I will say before we put that pin totally in there is one of Dan Abnett's comic things was Pure Blood, which was a story about Sontarans, including wild non-cloned Sontarans, as well as kind of the cloned ones that we know. So I was kind of wondering whether we were having kind of another variation on that shtick. So it didn't throw me quite as far out. Possibly. I don't know.
Once the Dr. Amy and Samuel kind of leave the village and they go off following the tracks that had killed the animal, and they're looking for Vesta as well. Belle remembers that it's the anniversary of their father's death, so she thinks to head towards the cemetery to see if they can't pick up on where she might be going. While all that's happening, Rory comes across, I think he's stopped first by an ice warrior, but he escapes from the ice warrior. So he sees one of the ice warriors.
The ice warrior basically attacks the villagers and kind of using a sonic gun, and is basically kind of giving a very Troughton-esque vibe, which is fair enough because this was before Cold War. So we haven't seen the ice warriors in kind of baddie mode in the TV series for a very long time.
He uses that moment to escape.
Yeah.
And then he runs into an abandoned building or something where he encounters Vesta, or she hits him on the head with a hammer and knocks him out.
And he's also in a kind of a very ice-based action sequence as well en route, where he kind of finds himself kind of sort of stuck on the ice, pursued by the ice warrior, and for me it was kind of these things. It felt very visual.
Yes,
and maybe it's because I know Dan Abnett is a comic writer. I could imagine this in panels.
And it's interesting because there's a climactic sequence, I think, at the end of a chapter where he falls through the ice, and you think that he's going to drown or freeze to death. But it turns out that although, of course, there's ice, the water underneath the ice is quite warm. So he follows through that into a kind of underground, or not underground, well, into a basement of some kind, I think. Yeah. But it's the basement of like a mill, and Vesta is there. Like Matt said, she knocks him out. But she explains that this particular place is used to do something with the water, and I read it 3 times, and I still didn't understand it. But that's the reason that the water is warm instead of cold. Basically, they're but keep going. I'm so sorry.
Oh no, that's a really important sequence. The whole river sequence where Rory falls under it and the water's warm from it's some sort of terraforming process that's still underway, and it's very fortunate that happened. Otherwise, he would have
dead.
So he is discovered by Vesta, who knocks him out, and then he later wakes up, and they, after his clothes have dried out, they leave the building and make their way back to the village. Yeah,
there's a nice little bit where, because I think Dan Abnett does a very good job of capturing Rory, and there's one bit where it says that Rory decided to add nodding to his list of things to avoid doing, and I just thought, that is so Rory Pond. I greatly enjoyed Rory as a character in the TV series, and certainly, it was good to have such a strong sort of sense of his character in here.
I think that Abnett actually likes Rory maybe more than Stephen Moffat did. Rory was given so much to do and so many chances to shine in the story.
Yeah. That's certainly true. Back with the Doctor and Amy and hangers on in Would Be, which the Doctor realizes is also Would Be. As another kind of bit of kind of neologisms as well, is that really a neologism? Anyway, he starts banding that phrase around a bit. They see footprints in the snow, and then there's some references to Last of the Mohicans, which I just found quite odd. Amy appears to know who, and forgive me if I mispronounce the name wrongly, but she seems to know who Chingachgook is, who apparently is a major character in Last of the Mohicans.
Oh.
And I thought, how I don't know. Amy doesn't seem to me the sort of person who watches Daniel Day-Lewis movies or read.
I thought you were going to say Amy isn't the sort of person who reads, but you said Daniel Day-Lewis movies.
No. I think also, she's. Yeah, I don't know. She's not a strong reader, I suspect, as our Amy.
No.
More of a doer. The snow is kind of getting kind of blizzardy, where the Doctor and all that lot are, and the Doctor suddenly starts remembering Scotland and Jamie, and is suddenly kind of dropping hints of, oh, maybe this might be the Ice Warriors. Yes, you've seen the cover of the book.
So it's the blizzard's picking up, and they make their way to they're being chased by some ice warriors. Spot them, but they're a ways off, so they're trying to stay ahead of them, but it's difficult, with pacing to kind of maintain that, and the ice warriors are pretty relentless in their pursuit. So they find their way to a small, it's called a vent, but it's really like a yurt or a hut. And it's made out of what's called shipskin, or the material from the colonizing ship. So they managed to seal themselves in there. There's also an altercation where they're kind of surrounded, and before they make their way to the hut, where the Doctor is able to calibrate his sonic screwdriver to like be the exact opposite frequency of the sound that the Ice Warriors use in their sonic guns, effectively like neutralizing their weapons with like white noise, basically. And so that buys them a little bit more time, and they make their way to this hut, which they discover isn't a hut at all, but it's really an access port to a vast underground complex. So they're kind of crawling, moving away the dirt of the floor they're standing on, and as the Ice Warriors are breaking into the building.
The Doctor uses the sonic screwdriver like 2 or 3 times, and then he says, well, it's running out of juice, or I need to recharge it. And I guess he recharges it by just putting it in his pocket, which is, I didn't know that was a thing. I thought you had to plug it with a TARDIS or something. But this is important, because at a certain point, this prevents him from using it, because he's used all the juice in the sonic screwdriver. He doesn't use that word juice. That was my word. I don't think that would work if he used the word juice, but it becomes important later on. Another little thing to put a pin in, as Chris would say. Yeah.
I wonder how it recharges too. If it's like one of those, aren't there like certain watches that you don't have to wind, or they're like perpetual motion, where just the slightest like walking motion will like recharge it?
Well, he rubs it at one point to try to get a bit more energy into it. As a pivotal moment, he's there kind of sort of rubbing his hands with the screwdriver from memory. But so there may be some kind of kinetic energy thing. It's probably best not to think about. Just exactly. Remember, he can't use it. He can't use it for a while until he has to, for plot reasons. Anyway.
They're being pursued by the Ice Warriors, and they're making their way down the hatch, and I guess there's a very long ladder or tube that they're making their way down. And I'm trying to remember who falls first.
The Doctor. The Doctor
yeah.
falls first, and he takes Belle and Samewell off the ladder as he goes, which is inconsiderate of him. And so Amy sort of notices that she doesn't hear any screaming or any plops, is a little bit freaked out by the whole thing. And it's one of the few moments where we kind of get a sense of Amy's character, because she is suddenly starting to think that everybody that she knows might have just died, because she's also assuming that Rory's probably in trouble. We don't see a lot of vulnerability, I would say, from her. So it was interesting, but yeah, have no fear. She suddenly discovers that there's like a water slide at the bottom of the ladder, and kind of slides on down. Then she encounters a whole host of hybrid rats.
Mm-hmm.
So for tons of Wing Chiang fans,
yeah, there's like a whole series of tubes that she falls down and slides on. Like, you can tell she's going like really far and really deep into the surrounding ground, and like every so often her fall's broken by like a pile of leaves. And as you mentioned, these weird rat-like creatures kind of come out of the woodwork at the bottom of the tunnel, and she's trying to fend them off.
Yeah.
And again, as I don't remember which one of you said it, but again, this is a very visual book, and this passage is a perfect example of that, because the rats are described as not exactly rats or giant rats, but they're sort of like cyborg rats, as if they've been genetically bred to attack and hunt and kill. And magically, the Doctor walks right in. I'm being snarky, I know. The Doctor shows up at that moment, flashes his sonic screwdriver again, gets them to run away. And we don't run into them again. But it's important to remember that. Another pin. Get your pins out. All these pins will add up to something in the end.
Yes, mm-hmm. Yeah. Over in B-side world, we're told, we encounter a night watchman called Sol, and it's emphasised that the night watch has only recently been reinstated due to the livestock attacks and everything. And B-side is a lovely place, etc., etc. And whilst Bill, the Bill Groan, the sort of the nurse elect, have we spoken about what the nurse elect means? I don't know. No, because this becomes important. So that's his title, which is basically kind of village chairman. But focus on the word nurse. Again, pin in there for you for later. And so whilst he's trying to kind of figure out exactly how he's going to tell the villagers that a lot of people appear to have accidentally died due to an Ice Warrior attack, in come the Night Watchman with Vesta and Rory. Vesta tells Bill that Rory is a nurse-elect because Rory's told her that he's a nurse. And so, suspicious of this, kind of Bill takes them to the back room where he's got a secret door to somewhere called the Inn Crypt that Guide only permits the chosen nurse-elect through.
I have a stupid question really quick. We've talked about the language and how these words are actually morphed, through generations. What's the significance of the term nurse? Well, I know what a nurse is in this book, but why do they call it a nurse? I can't figure out where. Maybe like somebody who tends a nursery, a nurser. I don't know.
I wonder whether it's because we've got nurseries being kind of like a garden.
Okay.
So at least in British English, I don't know whether necessarily in American English.
Okay.
You do get kind of garden nurseries where you don't have like sort of plants running around in nappies or diapers, but you have kind of people kind of cultivating things. So that might be where it's come from. However, it's a remarkable coincidence, isn't it? Very useful for kind of like for these scenes, sort of particularly because we also hear some references to the guide Emmanuel. That this is something that only nurse elects can consult. Bill forces Rory to put his hand against the door to see if Guide would let him in as a test to show whether he really is a nurse elect. So, should we kind of cut back to the Doctor and Amy and that lot? Because this narrative really switches a lot back off. It's quite hard to summarize this.
It does cut back and forth quite a bit, and the pieces of information we learn in one scene kind of translate to the other, because we learn like Rory puts his hand on the pass key or the bio scanner or whatever, and he is allowed into the chamber. Like the system recognizes him as human, and then we cut to the Doctor, Amy, Samwell, and Bell, and they're still being chased by the Ice Warriors.
They kind of go through a series of tunnels and vast chambers and whatnot. So they've not quite encountered the Ice Warriors again just yet.
Oh, that's right.
And so the Doctor kind of there's a nice doctory phrase where he's sort of admiring the dedication of the people that built the firmers, the terraformers. So that's what I love about people. They have dreams and grand ambitions, so they start building towards them, even though they know they won't live to see them finished. Pin in there, by the way. But I thought that was quite nice and doctory. That's good.
As they're exploring before the Ice Warriors find them, I think the Doctor has the realization that he's inside one of the 3 mountains that he noted earlier in the book, and he mentioned that they didn't appear to quite be actual mountains. Kind of like, as Sean, as you said earlier, the callback to State of Decay, where the castle isn't just a castle, but it's also a rocket ship.
Oh, that's absolutely right. Yes.
In this case, it's the mountains not being mountains, but they're giant terraforming engines that are on the planet. And the Doctor and that party, they come across which looks like a huge vat of decaying flesh or protein base.
Yeah.
And they're speculating as to what it could be used for, whether it was originally for food or for synthesizing like the cyborg rats that they came across earlier. But the machinery was broken, what looked like by sonic devices or sonic drills, letting them know that it was the Ice Warriors. And at that point, the Ice Warriors show up as they're in this kind of long corridor with these vats of putrid kind of decaying meat, I guess.
Yeah.
So they're running away from the Ice Warriors, and it's at that point that they kind of tie into what Rory had discovered, in that the Doctor can't open the door with his handprint because he's not human, but the other that he's with, so Amy and Bell and Samwell, can open and close the doors behind them. So that gives them a little bit of extra time as they're opening and shutting doors between them and the Ice Warriors. And they make their way to what turns out to be like an auxiliary control room or bridge, where they have access to what looks like communications equipment.
And also, is it at this bit where the Doctor suddenly he makes, when he's speaking to the Ice Warriors, sort of like in passing, probably whilst running, he makes that reference to kind of warriors of the Transor clan.
Yes.
And starts basically kind of dropping hints, say, "Hi, I know you guys." And this is kind of, and this is not met with the kind of like the awe and respect that he would expect. Back over in B-side, so Rory is kind of, he's not been allowed in to kind of go and study the Guide Emmanuel because so old Winona thinks this is a bad idea because she's a very conservative person. And so Rory is basically having soup issues, which is another Roryism. I mean, you're right, Sean. Dan Abnett seems to adore Rory. There's so much good Rory stuff. I mean, if, as we're discussing this, we'll spoil the various mysteries, but if you enjoy Rory, then I think this is a book that you will particularly enjoy reading. Because this is, for my money, this is Rory to a T, and and so there's various hints that are being dropped about the worsening winters and the Guide Emmanuel, the Doctor and his mob. So the Doctor's kind of suddenly started turning on the power, and Amy's accusing him of showing off, and then there's they find themselves somewhere else entirely. And that somewhere else is the room that Rory's in. There's a kind of like a hologramic link between them. And there's quite a nice and cool bit where Amy and Rory try to hug each other but pass through because they're holograms.
It's written in a way that you think that maybe they've stumbled across a transmat, because when we leave the Doctor, Amy, Annabelle, and what's-his-face, they're actually about to turn on some sort of machinery, and then we go to Rory, and then the next time we see, all of a sudden they've all met up. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're reunited at last. But no. It's a trick. It's a trick.
Yes. Yeah, but it's a good way of getting information to Rory, sort of without totally disrupting the narrative, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
The Doctor tells Rory his plan, that he wants to kind of sabotage that the Ice Warriors have done to the terraforming equipment, to undo the kind of the winter that's been created. And he asks Rory to get the guide, so the Emmanuel that was referred to earlier is really an electronic manual, like a help guide for the town, and all of the systems and equipment, and so he just has to get access to it. But is it Winona is preventing him from accessing the council chambers, so that kind of leaves him in a bit of a predicament because he can't get that information to the Doctor.
And the Ice Warriors are starting to break into the telecoms room as well, and sort of one of the Ice Warriors sort of throws an axe, and so that causes these sparks to emerge that overcome the Doctor, and so that causes him to be split up from kind of Amy, Bell, and the other guy, and
it cuts out communications, and it kind of the bridge equipment starts blowing up and exploding, and Amy, the humans are able to get through the door and seal it, but the Doctor kind of stalls to give them a little bit more time to escape.
Yeah,
thinking that he can kind of talk his way out of the situation with the Ice Warriors. And it's at that point we're introduced to the Ice Lord, so the commander of the Ice Warriors.
And I was very glad he showed up because he doesn't speak in a hissy way. Whereas the Ice, I was just getting so annoyed because the Ice Warriors is all just written out for you, and just like, oh, really? This is getting difficult. And so his name was it Ixlia or something? I can't remember.
Something to that.
I've got it written. Yes.
We can just call him the Ice Lord, I think.
The Ice Lord. There's only one of him. Yes, sorry.
But what's really funny is at one point the Doctor says, "Well, can I call you Ix?" And the guy goes, "No." Well, you're lost then, or says something to that effect. But there's a wonderful passage of a few pages, which is mostly between just the Doctor and the Ice Lord, in which they're playing sort of a verbal back and forth, in which he realizes that the Ice Warriors are there because they want to terraform the planet, just like the humans are doing, because Mars is no longer inhabitable for them. And that they've been monitoring the humans all this time without the humans' knowledge, of course. And the Ice Lord says something about these new... He asks the Doctor, I think, this is how it comes up, well, show us your ship that you showed up in. And the Doctor's like, well, it's not really a ship, and there's only 3 of us. And there's me, Amy, and Rory. And the Ice Lord says something about, no, there's about 180 of you. And that's when we realize that they are not the only ones on the planet, that there is a third group of folks on the planet that we haven't known about the entire story.
I love that. That was a real good kind of like rug pull.
Yes.
Yes.
And here's our pin cushion.
So the Doctor as well, he's kind of he's name dropping again, sort of referencing these kind of clans, and that the Ice Warriors should know him as the Belazar, sounds very Klingon, which is the cold blue star. And rather wonderfully, the Ice Warriors have never heard of him, or this chap called Axilax that the Doctor is sort of saying that he's best buddies with.
Is that a reference to Curse of Paladon or Monster of Paladon?
I googled him and nothing came up. So I thought he was a Peladon dude, and I wondered if he was Big Finish or something, because there's a few Ice Warriors that kind of rock up in Big Finish, but no.
I had the same thought and Googled him as well, and I didn't see anything come up, so I think it's just a random kind of future. We learned basically that the Doctor's overshot by 9,000 years or so, and that eventually he will become friends or I guess like respected with his like clan of Ice Warriors, but that's far in the future and hasn't happened yet. So kind of he realizes his error there.
Should we go back to B-side?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So the council come kind of charging out because they've heard all of the commotion over the telecoms, and Rory tells them that they're all being invaded by the Ice Warriors, and to help the Doctor, he's got to reach the e-manual. And Winona, because this is her purpose in the plot, says this is a bad idea, and she accuses the TARDIS crew of being the real Ice Warriors. And Vesta defends Rory's honour. And one thing I think is rather lovely is there is no hint of romantic subplot at all between Vesta and Rory. I mean, obviously they wouldn't have from Rory's side, but there doesn't seem to be any kind of... they are just people that are working together to get through this problem, which I thought that was quite nice. That we didn't waste any time on that. But just as kind of Vesta's basically, she's trying to get all Bill to agree to let Rory see the e-manual, and then suddenly the villagers burst in and say that there is a star descending from the heavens, and the other stars are moving. So they go outside, and we don't actually see a lot of fighting, but we hear it in a strangely non-visual moment.
And I think it's at that point that we kind of realize that the fighting, the Ice Warriors aren't targeting the town so much, although there is some collateral damage, but what they're really targeting appears to be this group that, as Sean mentioned, is kind of this like extra 150 or 200 individuals that were previously unknown, and it's at that point I think that we get the big reveal that this third group and the creature that was in the prologue that we thought was an Ice Warrior with the red eyes is actually a augmented human, similar to how we had the kind of the cyborg rats. We have these humans that are... at first I thought they might have been grown from like the meat stores and stuff, but we later learned that they were some of the colonists that were still frozen, that were pulled out of hibernation and had these kind of physical changes done to them to make them really kind of grotesque looking. Dan Abnett mentioned like claws that are almost like Wolverine type claws, and different tubes and stuff sticking out of body parts, and
it's really cool. Actually, it's a really cool concept. I mean, I hate to say this, but I really wanted to see a picture of it, because it's a description of a creature that you have a very hard time imagining yourself, at least in my case. And sometimes the books do this, where they'll describe an alien being or something going on that's very hard to wrap your mind around. But still, he does a good job with it, I think.
Yeah, and like sharp gnashing teeth, like I think you mentioned, like almost like shark-like teeth, like rows of teeth.
Yeah,
that
are razor blades almost.
Yeah, and it turns out these are the creatures that were attacking the local livestock because they had to feed, and we get to mention that the Ice Warriors are herbivores and don't eat meat, which is, I don't know if we've had gotten that before or if that contradicts anything that comes later in Cold War, but we did get that detail too.
Yeah, I don't think it contradicts anything. I mean, I remember wondering whether it was new information, but I couldn't think of any kind of direct contradiction. But Whilst all of this is going on, Amy and Belle and the other guy start recreating scenes from Dragonfire. It's probably the only way to describe it, as they're in some kind of walkways, and there are ice warriors attacking. They decide to lower themselves over the walkways. And fun ensues. I found that bit quite. I don't. It just felt like we needed something to happen to Amy. Here we have an action sequence. There you go. It was daft when Sylvester McCoy did it in Dragonfire, and I found it daft here. But that's.
Well, what's cool is that after they do the jump, after the three of them do the jump from one walkway to another, you think that they're free, but immediately after that, the Ice Warriors jump down too. And these Ice Warriors are surprisingly agile, and they actually mention that. I just can't picture, like, I figure that these are the Troughton-era Icemen, or Ice Warriors. I swear to God, I just didn't say that on purpose. So I just can't picture them being that agile. I mean, at one point, they talk about them throwing an axe, and, you know, it's as we mentioned, it blocks the communication between the Doctor and Rory. But it was a surprising passage. But hard for me to picture. I guess I have no imagination. But anyway.
So the Doctor, I think, manages to convince the Ice Lord that he's on their side, and that he has problems, you know, morally with what they're doing. At the present time, he wants to kind of align with them and work on destroying or neutralizing the augmented humans that have come about. So that group starts making their way within the mountain to the primary control room, which is on a different level. And Amy and Amy and the rest of the humans that got separated from the Doctor, I think also eventually make their way to where the Doctor goes. I can't remember if it's because they got captured or chased, but they eventually meet up again.
Yeah, I think they're being chased, but sort of back over at B-side, old Winnower, she's basically having a little bit of a meltdown because she's kind of wondering what guide has wrought upon them, and then they encounter one of these kind of transhuman things that says it is assigned to secure and protect the guide system, it basically emerges that Winona has a secret that's being passed amongst the generations, but kind of like one person at a time. But she's reluctant to divulge any further. And then the Doctor's hologram reappears, and he kind of basically says what's happening with the transhumans, and he then works out that the Morphans aren't building Hereafter, which is the name of this world. Have we actually mentioned that? Anyway, it's called Hereafter. But they aren't building Hereafter for their descendants, but instead building it for their ancestors, which I thought was quite a cool thing, because in hibernation are kind of like Earth's elite, and the Morphans are just the expendable workers, and they will eventually just be a food source for the elite when they wake up. And that was a rather wonderfully macabre twist, I thought.
Yeah, there certainly were quite a few twists in this, where you think it's one type of narrative, and then some of the detail, it's not quite as you might think, from the outset.
Yeah. And so Amy now enters sort of the Doctor's kind of room, because the Doctor's got to like a comms room whilst he and the Ice Lord and their folk have been walking around, and so Amy's gotten there as well, and pursued by transhumans who then suddenly start fighting the Ice Warriors. And again, we have another one of our very visual sequences with kind of all hell breaking loose up there. Rory kind of meanwhile has kind of managed to break into the encrypt, having kind of got past some padlocks and whatnot, and he grants access to the guide database in the Doctor's room.
He's kind of being forced out of the inner council chamber, but he's able to to send or to upload the guide or email the guide to the
Yes.
to the doctor,
Yeah.
so that the
Yeah.
doctor can understand how to fix the
Yeah,
problem and to shut down the transhumans, and he's able to almost like I was thinking of the Best of Both Worlds with Locutus, where he sends the Borg all to sleep, kind of does that command.
Yeah, yeah. He kind of basically kind of gets the entire system to go into hibernate. Does this by using his sonic screwdriver that's just finished recharging.
Yeah.
And then says, "Come on, Daddy needs a brand new planet." Oh, it's a very Matt Smith thing to say, but it's annoying. Just like the Geronimo references that have rocked up earlier that we've not shared with you. It was like, oh yeah, no, they did say that in those days, didn't they? Anyway,
probably can't picture Capaldi saying that.
No. Well, maybe he does in Thin Ice, which I've seen and you guys haven't.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He doesn't.
Thin Ice, the episode that just aired, takes place at the Frost Fair, which I guess Big Finish did first back in 2007 or so. They did a whole story set there with the first Doctor.
Okay. I did not know that.
So I'm guessing that the Doctor, Nardole, and Bill don't run into the Doctor, Stephen, and Vicky, do they?
Safe to say that doesn't happen.
Okay.
Yes.
So the Doctor effectively neutralizes the augmented humans and sends them back into hibernation, and he convinces the Ice Warriors to abandon their they've been there for 10 years now, doing this kind of long game to change the climate, and he convinces them to instead relocate to a different planet, which is still nearby but is more Mars-like than Earth-like.
So the Ice Lord reckons it looks like a cold blue star, which is the translation for the name that the Doctor thinks that the Ice Warriors call him. So it all kind of ties in nicely, because apparently this kind of new planet will also be the home for Azalax, the chap that we spoke about earlier. So that's all that neatly sorted.
So all the references the Doctor made to the Ice Warriors will still happen 9,000 years in the future, but on this new colony that's orbiting I think it's a blue dwarf star. So that
and the Doctor also decides to take this opportunity to improve the guide's kind of UI, kind of like the user interface, so it's less cryptic and more useful for humans, which is good. And he also resets the hibernation parameters so that the people of B side and C side and A side can choose when the elite will wake up, if at all.
And the end scene is kind of written similar to like a Christmas present exchange, where the Ice Warriors get their new planet, the Morphins get their new guide. Rory's present is he gets to fly the TARDIS under the Doctor's close supervision. Amy gets her mitten back. and the Doctor gets his psychic paper back, so everyone gets a little something at the end.
Yay!
Isn't that sweet? Yes.
So,
what did we think?
Should we ask our guest first?
Yeah.
Sure.
Sean, how would you rate this?
I would give it. You know what? I actually kind of like this. I know I've been sitting here and you guys have been doing most of the talking and describing, because I don't remember what happened bit by bit in this story that much, but standing back and looking at it as a whole, even though I've been kind of snarky and criticizing bits and pieces of it, as a story, it really is pretty good. It's much better than most of the new adventures that I've written, or that I've read. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. I don't want to run a new adventure. It wasn't a Freudian slip, but the story was pretty solid. It fails a little bit in that, and I think I don't remember which one of you guys mentioned it, that he's a comic strip writer, so a lot of the passages are very visual, and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. And it also felt I also looking at it objectively and critically, there's just a lot of chases going on. Like the entire book almost are the Ice Warriors rambling after our protagonists and chasing them from room to room. When you look at it that way, I suppose it doesn't seem very good, but somehow it all kind of worked for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also very 11th Doctor-ish. That he totally loves the 11th Doctor as well as Rory. I don't know so much about Amy, but I don't know.
Yeah, Amy has nothing really to do here, does she?
No.
Apart from babysit Samewell, which is that's a sad thing for anyone to have to do.
You could take her out of the story and none the wiser.
Yeah. And on the flip side, though, we do get a really strong characterization of Rory, which I haven't read a lot of other 11th Doctor books, but I can imagine that Amy's probably gets more of a focus in some of the other books, and so that's interesting that we get a little bit of his kind of thought process, and I thought that characterization was pretty strong.
I would love to read some kind of Doctor and Rory books. I mean, maybe with kind of, I mean, not to dismiss Amy, but yeah, the Doctor and Rory traveling alone together for whatever reason would be kind of interesting. But yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's probably some that have been written by some Japanese women that you could probably find on the deep recesses of the internet. In fact, if you find them, let me know. I think I may like to see that or read that.
Yes, I'll go troll the darknet for that now. Yeah. Matt, what's your thought?
I like this one. I thought it was pretty solid. The characterizations were strong. It felt like it could fit right into the 11th Doctor era. I thought some of the tropes in it were a little derivative. Like they reminded me a lot of, and you might not have seen this movie. It came out in 2008. There's a movie called City of Ember, which is based on a young adult dystopian book series. I think it has 4 books in it. But the movie had Harry Treadaway, Bill Murray, Toby Jones, Tim Robbins, Mackenzie Cook. But it's basically this entire story minus the Ice Warriors and take the village and put it underground. And it's the right down to like the one village leader saving, a secret for the next village elder, and it's a good movie, but it reminded me quite a bit of it. But I'm sure that's I mean, you could go back further to like State of Decay or to other science fiction stories too. I'm sure this isn't the first time it's been done, but I remember like last month saying, I really want a book where we don't have a big reset button at the end, and at least we didn't get that.
Yeah.
And instead of getting a base under siege, it was more of like a village under siege. But I'll take that. It was good.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I think of the 3 books that we've read thus far, it's the one that I've enjoyed the most. And the it was a rollicking read, as they say. I mean, it was good fun. There were 1 or 2 points where, I mean, I know everyone compares sort of Matt Smith's Doctor to Troughton, but there were some points where he felt very Troughton-y. But that might just be because there's Ice Warriors, etc. And that might be where my mind was going. But there were 1 or 2 points where he felt almost slightly more Troughton than normal. But yeah, it was. Yeah, it was good. Just a shame about Samewell, but yeah. Anyway,
because you mentioned, Chris, that this came out, before Cold War aired. I thought Dan Abnett did a good job of not really tying down whether the Ice Warriors were wearing armor or not. Like every time he described, because there was a lot of fighting in this book, but he always described like the Ice Warriors' armor as like both being scale-like and plated, so you could kind of read it both ways. One thing that kind of bugged me a little bit was like the timing of the story. So he mentioned that the Earth and Mars, like the sun had expanded, so presumably it was set like, post New Earth or Gridlock, where you have the expansion of the sun and the destruction of the inner planets of the solar system. But I don't remember the Ice Warriors surviving that far into the future. Like when I think of the Ice Warriors, I always think of more so like ancient, more being contemporaries with like the Silurians, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
maybe
Peladon.
that's true. But that's 20. That's still in the
It's in a relatively near future,
yeah.
isn't it? I mean, it's not quite as far. Yeah,
But whatever.
yeah, yeah.
I,
We can be mystery science theater about it. It's a
Yeah.
story.
yeah, but Matt, I think Matt, you're right about the timing. When you said timing, I was thinking also the pacing of the story. I did not really care for that because there's like 3/4 of the way through the book, or maybe 7/8 of the book is them, with the Ice Warriors being chased by the Ice Warriors and the Terraformers and all that. And then all of a sudden you find out about the transhumans, and then all of a sudden the book's over. The reveal about the transhumans is actually kind of cool when we learn about them and we learn about the huge secret behind them. But I think I would have preferred to have that happen about halfway through the book, or if not halfway, at least a little bit sooner. The whole subplot involving Winona and the fact that she knows about the transhumans and she's hiding she's keeping it secret, that would have been a huge subplot if this was like a new adventure. I could see her being a sort of pseudo secondary villain, if you will. But I think perhaps he had that in mind, and they edited it out. Maybe not, but the timing or the pacing didn't feel quite perfect to me, and that's another critical point I have, or critical point, a criticism.
There's also a running joke throughout the entire book, which I didn't really care for, where they refer to things as Earth-like, Earth-esque, or Earth-ish. I don't know if where they continually brought that up over and over again. That was one of the few things I was kind of like, about.
And Amy kept calling them the Ice Men instead of the Ice Warriors. Isn't that cute? Isn't she cute? She doesn't get the name.
Well, we have to give us something to do.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And the doctor kept calling back to Victoria, saying like she's the one who coined the name. Why can't you remember it? But
yeah.
So how would we rate this one out of 10?
Should we ask our guest first?
Sure.
I would give it a 7. It didn't blow me away, but it was a good, solid week's read. Will I remember it in 6 months' time? Probably not. Would I like to see this story translated into like a 2-parter for the series? Absolutely. This would make a really good TV program, or not TV program, but episode, I should say. That's one of my little criteria in my head whenever I read these. Like, would this make a good televised story? And I think this would make a smashing one, with the exception of trying to depict those Ice Warriors as being so, what's the word I'm looking for? Acrobatic. I don't know how they would achieve that on the screen. Oh, and there's one part. I'm sorry, I'm going back. Forgot to mention. There's one part where they're all hiding. All the Ice Warriors are hiding. I don't under what, and they pop out to attack the transhumans as the transhumans are about to attack the Doctor. And I'm like, what were they hiding behind? There must be huge columns or something that they were hiding. It's like they all jumped out. Had surprise! We're Ice Warriors. I'm not going to let you attack the Doctor. I'm like, well, that doesn't translate well. I don't get what's going on there. It just bugged me. You know the part that I'm talking about?
Yeah, I thought they were hiding by wearing sheets over their head like the Zygons were.
I picture like there's one of them like underneath the desk where the Doctor is sitting, like, oh, I'm underneath here. And they can't be faster than the transhumans. No. And by the way, I think that's a really bad term, transhuman. It seems slightly politically incorrect.
Yeah, that's a term of the book. That's not a term that we came up with.
Yeah.
It's so 2011.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to agree with you, Sean. I had written down that I was going to give this one a 7 out of 10 as well. I gave Engines of War an 8 out of 10, just because I think I liked the all the continuity references a little bit more and how it tied into the 50th. But this one, it's solid, but it's and I think it's really well written. I think it's, of the three, it's probably the best written in terms of easiest to read and in terms of painting visuals and stuff. I just found some of the subject matter a little bit derivative, but that's probably because I've read a lot of sci-fi. But Yeah, so, I would give it a strong 7 out of 10.
Oh, what should I do? I was going to say an 8. I think I'll still go with an 8. Yeah, yeah. But so, and yeah, as Sean in particular sort of said, I mean that yeah, if this had been a new adventure, this could have. And without want, I mean, I am a new adventure fan, but this could have been so much more depth and various other things if done well. I know I might be slightly misquoting you there, Sean, but but yeah,
No, cool, that's fine.
yeah, it could have been better, but I certainly I enjoyed it, and yeah, and Rory was cool.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Any other final thoughts about the book before we move on to listener feedback?
Not from me.
Not for me.
All right. So we have 2 pieces this month. We got a question from a Twitter message from Mark on Twitter. He wanted to know what the retro clips we used in our intro and our outro were. So a lot of podcasts have bumpers like that, I guess. The intro is the Children's Television Workshop logo from 1982 through the early 90s. It was used on PBS before 3-2-1 Contact and some other things. Yeah.
I haven't thought about that in ages. Woo! I just had a flashback.
The outro is the BBC home video logo that was used on some of the early VHS releases from, I want to say, like 84 through 88 or so. So that's what those are. The other piece of feedback, we actually got a real email, like an email, proper email.
Hurrah!
Our first non-tweet email. So Taroja wrote us a nice email, and they thanked us for hitting the ground running with our, the quote, real deal, which is cool, and thanked us for expanding out the new series and target books in terms of the types of things we're reviewing. And Taroja shared some thoughts on Big Bang Generation, and Chris agreed with your rating of giving it a 6 out of 10. They also went on to write that the books meant a lot to them because they got into Doctor Who when they were 12 or so, back in the early 90s, and knew Who was far more of a thing of print rather than television. And but I'll just read a couple paragraphs from it. They write, "There's a dismissive attitude from some to the original novels, especially New Adventures, for being too earnest and too concerned with continuity. My experience was totally different. As a young fan, they worked for me as the TV series had for others before, introducing me to sci-fi ideas, dealing with issues through either allegory or direct reference, and generally expanding my mind. They made a hero available to me who was an outsider, who didn't solve everything with a gun, and respected open-mindedness and learning. I also learned from them other things that the classic series could never tackle. It was in Doctor Who books that I encountered for the first time lesbian characters, transgender people, and a black lead whose social touchstones were from an African culture first and foremost. They didn't come across as look at how brave we are statements, but as things that were a normal part of life, and so of course they would be included."
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's kind of quite similar to my experience as well. I think that's wonderfully put. Yes. My proverbial hat is off to you.
So thanks, Taroja. I appreciate those comments. And if listeners want to get in touch with us, they can always send us a tweet at ANDWBC podcast or send us an email at that same address at gmail.com. And we will potentially read out your feedback on a future episode. So next month, Chris, I think, is your pick. So what are we going to be reading?
Well, I was thinking, let's go back to, was it the 70s or was it the 80s? Let's go back to the time of the Master, time of Unit, Face of the Enemy.
Oh. Yes.
I think I've seen that one. Is that the one where Deanna goes undercover with the Tal Shiar? It's a Star Trek Next Generation reference.
Yes. Okay.
There's an episode called Face of the Enemy.
Okay. I've been scared of accidentally calling it Face of Evil.
Oh.
All of today, I'm saying, do not call it Face of Evil. But yeah, I'm looking forward to, in my case, rereading Face of the Enemy. But yeah.
It's doctorless. It's just Unit and the Master. I don't know if that's a spoiler. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think that's generally known. But who wrote that? Do you know?
Dave
Does
Kitty.
Oh, okay, all right.
Which I think, Sean, you reviewed The Dark Path on the original podcast, which is the second Doctor in The Master.
Yeah.
So
that was when he was. Yeah.
So I wonder if this is going to be a kind of like a sequel to that at all. I know it's a different range, but maybe. Yeah, I haven't read it yet, so I'm looking forward to it.
My lips are sealed.
It also means we'll have to figure out how we want to do a dramatic reading next month, because we won't have an audiobook for it. So,
well, I mean, if anybody wishes to volunteer their services, yeah, we're very open for any guest readers or anything. So yeah,
Sean, where can people find you and listen to you and follow your continuing adventures?
I'm no longer doing the Doctor Who Book Club, of course, but it's still out there. You can still download whatever episodes that you want of it. If you want, you can hear me on the TARDIS Tavern. Our next episode, which we recorded last night, is going to be about the Rebos operation. It's already out, actually. I released it this morning. If you live in Texas or in the Dallas area, we're going to be at DFW Who Fest. Peter Davison will be there. I guess he was like, well, screw Minnesota, but I'll go to Texas. Yeah. Sorry, Matt. Yeah.
That's okay.
But you can also listen to me on the Classic Horrorcast, which I do with Kyle Anderson and my former co-host of the Doctor Who Book Club, Eric, and also the 1001 Movies podcast. It's based on the book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. And I'm on Twitter at TARDIS Tavern, but I never go on Twitter, hardly ever, because I'm just a Facebook person. So.
All right. We'll definitely have to have you on again sometime soon. That'd be great.
Certainly. I'd be happy to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, until next month, I've been Matt in Minnesota.
Chris in South London.
And this is Sean in Austin, Texas. Happy reading.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to the all-new adventures of the Doctor Who Book Club podcast. You can contact the show and follow us on Twitter at ANDWBC Podcast. Our music is the Doctor Who theme, Swing Jazz version by George C. Music, used with attribution under Creative Commons license. Until next month, happy reading.
You know what? I've met you both before, haven't I? You guys have been at Gallifrey.
You've met me, yeah.
No, not me. I've never been to California.
Oh, okay. All right. But I've met you, Matt.
Yep.